Happy Thursday, Facebook friends. Welcome back to Facebook. I'm Angie Garza, Director of Professional Learning and Educational Services at RW47, serving Lee, Ogle, and Whiteside counties. And if you're joining us this fine Thursday here on Facebook, you'll know that it's time for another edition of Teacher Talk. And as we rush to close out our 2023-24 school year and the month of May, we are taking a TV time out to celebrate all of the accomplishments that we have experienced during this school year, and simultaneously looking ahead to this summer and even some opportunities that we have for our educational communities moving into the fall of 2024. So as we kick off our conversations this morning, I am so happy to welcome my friend, colleague, and co-host, Ms. Stacy Dingus, to our Teacher Talk platform here this morning. Stacy, we are constantly asked in our office, is this a slow time for you? And we always have to smile and respond, you have no idea, because we are gearing up for all things summer and all things fall. So really excited to have these conversations here today to give our viewers a sneak peek of what is coming up in our world.
Angie, isn't that the truth? That comment that educators, people in school hear often, oh, it's May, you must be relieved. You must feel like, oh, it's May. And instead, a lot of people are like, it's May. The kids are crazy. The summer is right around the corner and you are itching to maybe take a break from the classroom. But what I think a lot of people don't know is that summer is also a time for our teachers to kind of reevaluate maybe what they want to focus on and improve on in their classroom next year. So definitely excited for the conversation that we're going to be able to share today.
This is the first of several conversations that we're going to be having as we wrap up our 2023-24 school year and preview what's to come. But this morning is very special because we have two guests who are joining us from the Education Development Center, and they are going to be sharing with us a unique opportunity for educators, special ed and general education alike, to learn more about promoting accessibility for mathematics learning. And so we are pleased to welcome to our Teacher Talk platform here this morning, Peter Tierney-Fife and Matt McLeod from a program called Math for All. And so we are going to get started with our conversations here this morning. And as we always do every Thursday, we're going to kick off our Teacher Talk by asking our special guests to introduce themselves to our educational community.
I'm excited to talk with you today. I am a Math for All coach, facilitator, instructional designer. My name is Peter Tierney-Fife. I live in Portland, Maine, and I enjoy spending time with my family, including our two cats, woodworking, and including making theater sets for high school and reading. Matt, how about you?
Matt McLeod. I live in Evanston, Illinois, which is just outside of Chicago. And I enjoy doing a lot of those same outdoor things that Peter mentioned and spending time with my family as well. But I gotta say, I really love doing math and really love thinking about math instruction. So I'll add that to the list.
Peter, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what Math for All is? I will be honest, I was one of those students in school that struggled with math. And learning more about Math for All, I wonder if the instructors, my teachers years and years ago, would have kind of valued some of the properties or the strategies that Math for All teaches, if maybe my experience would have been a little different. So I'm curious to have this conversation today and hear what you have to say. So tell us a little bit about what Math for All is.
Math for All is a professional learning program that brings together general education and special education teachers to help them make high-quality mathematics instruction accessible to the wide range of students in their classrooms, including students with disabilities, students who are diverse learners, students who are multilingual learners or ELLs, and really everyone. That's the focus and the purpose of Math for All. And it's not a curriculum, or a set of materials to implement. It's a series of 5 workshops in which teachers learn a process to adapt lessons in their own curriculum to make them more accessible for specific students. So maybe that might have helped, with your experience. Now, this process emphasizes a neurodevelopmental framework with 8 lenses, like memory and language and psychosocial functions, which teachers use to both analyze the demands of a task that might be the main part of their lesson and think about their focal student. Now, they select one focal student and thinking about that student's strengths and challenges related to the task. Now, one of the things that I really love about Math for All, and I get really excited about, is that it really fosters like this strengths-based or asset-based approach to planning and reflecting on instructional changes in your own classroom with your own curriculum. And I love how it includes this idea of teachers selecting and focusing on one of their own students to think about during all of those 5 workshops and really get to know and deepen their thinking about that student while they're practicing using Math for All processes and the neurodevelopmental framework. Now, one of the other things I really like about Math for All and the way it's set up right now with our current grant especially is that really builds in building school district and regional capacity for sustaining and scale up of this professional program so that local staff developers and teacher leaders will be trained and supported to become Math for All facilitators. So schools and districts can continue to use any or all of the aspects of Math for All that they find brings value to their instructional practices. And for example, maybe that's the use of the neurodevelopmental framework or the co-planning process, or maybe it's the whole program, and they will have what they need to sustain that work in the ways that's best for them. And that's really exciting.
We have been having a lot of conversations in our area about accessibility. And I think that that seems like a rather daunting challenge for many teachers. But when you plan for that outlier, it's amazing to think about how that impacts the whole rest of the classroom. And so kind of thinking about it from a different lens. And I love that idea of building teacher capacity. Peter, you also mentioned that this is part of a grant to not only build those strategies, that toolkit, but also to build capacity with leadership. So, Matt, as we think about this grant, this is not something that's new per se to our area. You were actually here pre-COVID, and we always talk about pre-COVID, before COVID, and after COVID, and that's kind of the dividing line. But there was some work here in our area. We were proud to partner with all of you in the work several years ago. Can you talk to us about what that experience is like, what that looked like, what the focus was? As it is a grant project, there's probably lots of moving pieces.
And before I jump into answering your question, I want to add to Peter's statement, that one of the things that I really like about Math for All is that we work with teachers to plan using their materials. And so Peter talked about planning for their students, but the application of what they learn in our workshops is really relevant because we're working on their materials. And so it's a way to think about adapting what they have in front of them already. And so it can continue, and it's not just instructional strategies that you try and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's how to work with the materials that you already have. So now to answer your question, before COVID, we were thrilled to be out here working with a few schools. And for me personally, it was my first time really working with rural schools and rural instruction. So it was eye-opening. And what we did was we had professional development at the schools and with the teachers, and it was face-to-face. And as you know, all of that stuff just went out the window as we went into COVID and the pandemic and everybody got locked at home. And so our adjustment was to do everything online like everybody else did. And we learned a lot from that. And we made a lot of updates to the materials. And we think we made good updates to the materials. And so they're a little bit fresher, they're a little bit newer. Everything is available online instead of having to use the printed materials and, old school slide decks and that kind of thing. But we're turning it back around. We're using those new materials and that digital aspect of it with teachers, and we're coming back face to face, because we feel like the conversations are so much richer and so much stronger when you're in the room together. Not to minimize these teacher talks, because I think this is a great way to reach a bigger audience, but the conversations are just very different when you're in the same room with somebody. And so that's what we're sort of working to do as we have emerged from all of the online instruction. But there have been some good things that came out of that, and our updates have been one of those really cool things. The opportunity that we have now is that we are offering this professional learning again. And so again, we're happy to work with ROE 47 and recruit some schools that are in the area to work with us on this professional learning opportunity.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what those opportunities look like in our area? Peter mentioned something that kind of caught my eye. He had said, we're taking existing curriculum and helping teachers with it. I was a ELA teacher years ago, and I was proud of the curriculum that I taught. I worked really hard on it. I owned it. I knew why I was teaching it to my students. I knew what standards I was hitting. Teachers tend to have some ownership on their curriculum. And I love this idea of not wanting to go in and say, you need full new curriculum, because we all know that that is such a time process to do that. But taking what they're already teaching their students and putting a different spin on it. I just think that's a great idea. It shows some respect towards the educators and what they're doing in the classroom, and I love that. Tell us a little bit more about these opportunities that are available in our area.
So Stacy, thank you. You hit what I really like about Math for All is that we rely on the teachers in the classroom to know their students and to know their materials. And we're not coming in saying, this is how you do it. And we don't have a silver bullet for everybody. We have a process that you can look at your materials and look at your curriculum and own it. And even those who have done such a great job with their own materials and the curriculum that they have students that they say it's not working for them, right? There's a student in there or more that they're not getting it. They're not getting it the same way that we hope that they would come out of a lesson. And so that's what we do is we look really carefully at the lesson and what they're asking them to do using the neurodevelopmental framework that Peter referenced. And we ask them to think about what is getting in the way for a student. Right. It might be a really heavy language. And you mentioned ELA, and so everything in ELA is going to be heavy language, right? But in math, there might be things that are heavier language than other things. And so if language is what's getting in the way, then we think about how to mitigate some of that language challenge and how to take that language challenge out of that particular lesson for that particular student and make the mathematics itself more accessible without really changing the mathematics that we want them to learn. So without changing the goals of the lesson. And so what we're doing is we're offering this professional learning over the next 2 years through a cohort model where schools come together at either the ROE office or Sauk Valley, which is to be determined yet. I think we're looking for space, but we're bringing schools together so that they also network with each other while they do this professional learning among the teachers. And one of the important things about Math for All that I think is really beneficial is that collaborative planning that Peter mentioned. We bring the special education teachers and the general education teachers together because we find that they have different experience and different expertise and different dispositions about teaching all the students in their classroom. And we'll have 5 days of that professional learning over the coming year. And we invite schools to be in touch and to hear more about it. We're happy to talk with them. We're happy to schedule a Zoom meeting like this and talk with them about what it means and what that professional learning might look like in more detail and what those 5 days entail.
I can't let you off the hook just quite yet with this. So we talked about the fact that this is great for all learners, and you specifically referenced general education teachers as well as special education teachers, but we know that there are students with language barriers and, as you mentioned, and all kinds of other strengths and areas that they need some additional support in. So if I'm a teacher watching our teacher talk today and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, that sounds intriguing, who would be a great candidate for this opportunity. And what would you say would be, in addition to those 5 days, are there additional commitments that they might need to fulfill, or what is the expectation, and what does that support look like?
So who might be a good candidate for this is anybody who is interested in improving math instruction for anybody in their classroom. And, we highlight students with disabilities, we highlight English learners, any student, but it doesn't have to be somebody in one of those subgroups. It just is anybody who wants to improve their instruction for any of the students in their room. So it's really, the framework is a way to think about how to understand what the students are learning and how they're learning, and building a student profile, learning profile for a student, and thinking about the ways that they are, like Peter said, what they do well, what they bring to the table, and then what might be in the way. And so it could be the language or the memory or those aspects. But as far as participating in the professional learning, really we're looking for schools who want to send a team together from the 3rd through 8th grade classes, from the 3rd through 8th grade levels. And the professional learning, we do some learning about this neurodevelopmental framework and this process that we're engaging them in. But then they take it back. And so there's an application of what they learned. They take it back and they do some planning during the professional learning. We dedicate time in the professional learning to do some planning, some lesson planning. And then they take that lesson back and they implement it with their students, and come back and debrief, do some reflection on how it went and what they might do next time. And the other aspect is that Peter mentioned, this is a grant. And so the funders want to know that they're spending their money well and what they get back from it. So we do have a research component that we ask the teachers to engage in, but we have tried to minimize it as much as possible because we recognize teachers are so swamped. So we asked them to fill out a couple of surveys and a couple of logs through the year that tell us what they're doing, and we look for things that might have changed. So there is that aspect of it, but most of it is on the job sort of application of the training. We don't ask for a lot of extra time outside of the school day.
Peter, I always say that there is nothing better than high quality, job embedded professional learning. And today, more than ever, teachers need that level of support in their classroom. So if I am a teacher watching our teacher talk here today, and I'm thinking, yes, this is what I need, I would love to engage in this opportunity, how do I find out more?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And I absolutely agree with you. That's part of what I'm so passionate about with Math for All, because it is those things and it's sustained. And I know, being one of the Math for All facilitators and coaches, that we really do support the local facilitators and teachers in any way that we can. Where to go for more information? You can contact Krista Peterson at ROE47, at kpeterson@roe47.org, or Matt McLeod, my colleague, at mmcleod, that's mmcleod at edc.org. And also we have a website. So you can click on the Join Us up in the upper right of our website, which is mathforall.edc.org, all spelled out, to send us a message expressing your interest. That'd be exciting. And also talk to your colleagues. This is a sort of a school-based model. So we're really looking for teams and a 2-year commitment from schools. So talk it up, find out, contact us. We would love to hear from you and hopefully get you involved.
Really, if I were to summarize our conversations here today on Teacher Talk, Math for All is really about dialing it back and supporting teachers in knowing and understanding their standards, their students, and the resources that they have available to them. And we're doing that through building capacity, building teacher leadership, and supporting those educators with the work and the students that are sitting there in front of them on a daily basis in order to reduce barriers and make math and, quite frankly, all learning accessible to every student. So always so proud and excited to be partnering with both of you specifically, and overall the Education Development Center. What a great group of people you have on your team who are always so willing to come and support and be very hands-on in our communities. We so appreciate you and are so excited about this opportunity moving forward into our 2024-25 school year. So the information for contact and more resources and to learn more will be reflected in the contents of this post. And again, if you do have questions, our ROE contact for the Math for All program is Ms. Krista Peterson. As we wrap up our teacher talk here this fine Thursday in May, we would like to say a special thank you to our guests this morning from the Education Development Center, Peter Tierney-Fife and Matt McLeod, talking to us about Math for All. We hope that you enjoyed the teacher talk here this morning, and even more importantly, we hope you have a beautiful rest of your Thursday, a lovely and relaxing Friday, a spring-filled and celebration-filled weekend, and we will see you right back here next Thursday for another edition of Teacher Talk.